The rain-slicked streets of Chicago gleamed under the dim afternoon light as Harold Thompson, 82 years old and bent like an old oak, shuffled toward the bus stop. His gnarled hands clutched a plain glass jar tightly against his chest, as if it were the last fragile thread connecting him to the world. When the bus doors hissed open, he boarded with labored steps. But just as he reached for the handrail, a sudden jolt from the accelerating vehicle sent him stumbling forward, the jar slipping from his grasp and rolling across the floor toward the feet of startled passengers. Gasps echoed through the crowded aisle as eyes locked onto the tumbling object. It wasn't money or jewels in Cedino. Swirling gently within the clear glass were fine ashes, gray and ethereal, like whispers from a forgotten fire. The bus lurched to a halt at a red light, and in that frozen moment, the passengers fell into a profound silence, their mundane conversations dying away as they realized this was no ordinary keepsake. It was the remnants of a life, carried by a man whose eyes brimmed with unspoken sorrow. Harold's heart pounded as he bent down, knees creaking in protest, to retrieve the jar. "Sorry about that," he muttered, his voice a gravelly whisper laced with decades of wear. No one responded at first. The young mother with her toddler shifted uncomfortably. The businessman in his crisp suit averted his gaze, and the teenager with earbuds pulled them out, staring wide-eyed. Harold settled into a seat by the window, cradling the jar once more, his mind drifting back to the woman whose essence now rested in his arms, Evelyn, his wife of 58 years, gone just 3 months ago. Their story had begun in the bustling heart of post-war America, when Harold was a strapping young mechanic fresh from the army, and Evelyn a spirited nurse with a laugh that could light up the darkest room. They met at a dance hall in 1947, where the swing music pulsed like a heartbeat, and Harold, mustering courage he didn't know he had, asked her to dance. "You look like you could use a spin," he'd said, and her eyes sparkled as she took his hand. From that night, their lives intertwined like vines on a trellis, weathering storms of poverty, the joy of raising 2 children, and the quiet contentment of growing old together. But age had crept in like a thief, stealing Evelyn's vitality bit by bit. First, it was the forgetfulness, misplaced keys, forgotten names, then the diagnosis: Alzheimer's. Harold watched helplessly as the woman who once recited poetry by heart struggled to remember his face. He became her anchor, feeding her stories of their youth to keep the spark alive. "Remember the bus we took on our honeymoon?" he'd say, and sometimes, in fleeting moments, she'd smile and nod. Now, on this very bus route, the number 22, the same one they'd ridden countless times, Harold was fulfilling her final wish. "Scatter me where we began," she'd whispered in a lucid interval before the end, referring to the lakeside park where they'd shared their first kiss. The jar held not just ashes, but a lifetime of love, laughter, and loss. As the bus rumbled on, a middle-aged woman across the aisle broke the silence. "Is that someone special?" she asked softly, her voice trembling with empathy. Harold nodded, tears welling. "My Evelyn. She passed in spring. This is all that's left." The words hung heavy, drawing others in. The teenager, named Mia, leaned forward. "That's kind of beautiful, in a sad way. Like carrying her with you." Harold managed a weak smile, surprised by the warmth in her tone. He hadn't expected connection on this lonely journey. He'd braced for indifference in a world that moved too fast for old souls. As the bus wound through the city, Harold shared fragments of their life. He spoke of the letters Evelyn wrote him during his deployment, how her words kept him sane amid the chaos of Korea. "She said I'd come home to her, and I did." The businessman, overhearing, put down his phone. "My grandma had Alzheimer's too. It's a cruel thief." Nods rippled through the passengers, barriers dissolving in the shared vulnerability. But then came the twisted soft cry from the back. An elderly woman, perhaps in her 70s, stood up shakily. "Harold? Harold Thompson?" she called, her voice quivering. He turned, squinting through his bifocals. "Do I know you?" The woman approached, her face lighting up with recognition. "It's me, Clara, Evelyn's sister. We haven't spoken since, well, the falling out." Clara. The name hit Harold like a wave. Decades ago, a family feud over inheritance had driven a wedge between the sisters, one that Evelyn regretted but never mended. Clara had moved away, and time had buried the rift under layers of unspoken hurt. Now, Here she was, on the same bus, her eyes filled with remorse. I heard about Evelyn. I wanted to reach out, but... She trailed off, glancing at the jar. The passengers watched in stunned silence as the siblings-in-law embraced awkwardly. She missed you, Harold said, his voice cracking. Clara touched the jar gently. And I her. Life's too short for grudges. This unexpected reunion shifted the atmosphere. What began as a solitary mission became a tapestry of reconciliation. Mia snapped a discreet photo, whispering, "This is like a movie." Harold felt a weight lift, the jar seeming lighter in his hands. As the bus neared the park, conversations flowed, stories of lost loves, forgiven wrongs, the fragility of time. The young mother shared how she'd lost her husband young, raising her child alone. "We carry them in our hearts," she said, echoing Harold's sentiment. Finally, the bus stopped at Lakeside Park. Harold rose, supported by Clara. "Come with me," he asked. She nodded, and together they stepped off, the passengers waving silent goodbyes, their faces etched with newfound appreciation for the strangers around them. Harold and Clara walked to the water's edge, the wind carrying whispers of the past. As they scattered the ashes, watching them dance on the waves, Harold felt Evelyn's presence. "She's free now," Clara said, tears streaming. In that moment, amid the kites soaring overhead and children laughing in the distance, Harold understood that love doesn't end with death. It echoes in the lives it touches, binding us in unexpected ways. But the day held more surprises. Back on the bus, Mia posted the photo online, captioning it with Harold's story. It went viral, sparking a wave of kindness, donations for Alzheimer's research, messages of support flooding in. Harold, unaware, returned home that evening, the empty jar on his mantle a symbol of closure. Yet, as night fell, a knock at his door revealed Mia, holding a printed photo. "You inspired us all," she said. Harold invited her in, sharing tea and more tales. In the quiet of his living room, surrounded by Evelyn's photos, he realized the jar's contents had sparked not just speechlessness, but a ripple of humanity that would endure. The story of the man and his jar became legend on that bus route, a reminder that in our busiest moments, pausing for another's pain can heal our own wounds. Harold slept peacefully that night, dreaming of dances long past, his heart full once more. The park's serenity lingered in Harold's mind as he awoke the next morning, the empty jar gleaming in the sunlight filtering through his curtains. He traced its rim with a finger, remembering the ashes' gentle release into the lake, how they mingled with the water like Evelyn's spirit returning to the world. But life, ever unpredictable, had more in store. His phone rang, an unfamiliar number flashing on the screen. It was a reporter from the local news, tipped off by Mia's viral post. "Mr. Thompson, your story's touching hearts across the city. Would you share it on air?" Harold hesitated, his voice shaky. "I'm just an old man who loved his wife." But something in him stirred a desire to honor Evelyn beyond the grave. He agreed, and soon found himself in a studio, the jar, now empty, propped beside him like a silent companion. As the interview aired, viewers called in, sharing their own tales of loss. One woman spoke of scattering her father's ashes at sea, another of carrying her child's memory through charity work. Harold's eyes misted. He hadn't realized how universal grief was, how it connected strangers in a web of shared humanity. Back home, letters arrived, cards from bus passengers, donations to Alzheimer's foundations in Evelyn's name. Clara called too, her voice warmer now. "We should meet more, Harold. Family's all we have." They planned lunch, bridging the years of silence with tentative steps. But amid this outpouring, a shadow loomed, Harold's own health. A doctor's visit revealed early signs of dementia, the same thief that took Evelyn. "It's progressing slowly," the doctor said, but Harold felt the irony like a punch. Would he forget her, the one he'd carried so faithfully? Determined, he began journaling their life, every dance, every argument, every quiet evening. "For when I can't remember," he told Clara over tea. She nodded, her own regrets surfacing. "I wasted time being angry. Evelyn would want us to live fully." Their conversations deepened, revealing family secrets. Evelyn's unspoken dreams of travel, Harold's hidden fears during the war. One afternoon, while sorting old photos, Harold found a letter from Evelyn, tucked in a box. "If I'm gone first," Promise you'll find joy again, it read. Tears fell as he clutched it, the words a balm to his aching soul. Inspired, he joined a senior group, where he met others widowed and weary. There, he shared the bus story, igniting laughter and tears. But the twist deepened when a young man from the group, Alex, confessed, "I was on that bus. I didn't speak up, but your courage changed me." Alex had been estranged from his grandfather, but Harold's tale prompted reconciliation. "We talked for hours," Alex said. Harold smiled, seeing Evelyn's influence ripple outward. As weeks passed, Harold's routine evolved. Mornings at the park, scattering birdseed where ashes once flew. Afternoons with Clara, reminiscing. Evenings writing. The viral fame faded, but its impact endured. A community fund for elderly transport, named Evelyn's Ride, ensuring no one traveled alone. Yet, doubt crept in during quiet nights. "Am I enough without her?" he whispered to the jar. A dream answered, Evelyn dancing, urging him forward. Waking, he decided to travelto the places she'd dreamed of. Clara joined, their bond strengthening. On the train to New York, Harold held the jar's photo, sharing stories with fellow passengers. A child asked, "What's in there?" "Love," he replied simply. The boy's wide eyes mirrored the bus's silence, but this time, it bloomed into questions and connections. In the city, they visited museums Evelyn loved and books. Harold felt her beside him, her laughter echoing in the halls. "She's here," Clara said, squeezing his hand. Returning home, Harold faced his diagnosis head-on, joining trials, advocating for awareness. Mia's visit brought news. Her post raised thousands for research. "You're a hero," she said. Harold chuckled. "Just a man who loved deeply." As they parted, he gifted her a photo of Evelyn. "Carry love forward." Seasons changed, and Harold's memory flickered, but his journal anchored him. Friends from the bus checked in, forming a support network. In vulnerability, he found strength. In loss, profound gain. The jar, once a vessel of sorrow, became a beacon of hope, reminding all that even in silence, stories heal. Harold's journal grew thicker, pages filled with inked memories that danced like Evelyn's steps in his mind. But as autumn leaves fell, so did fragments of his recall. Names slipped away, faces blurred. One evening, staring at the empty jar, he whispered, "Who are you to me?" Panic rose, but Clara's call steadied him. "We're family. Remember the bus." The bus, that pivotal ride, had woven a safety net. Alex visited often, reading aloud from the journal, his voice bridging gaps in Harold's thoughts. "You wrote about the dance hall," Alex said, and Harold's eyes lit up, the melody resurfacing. Gratitude swelled. These connections were lifelines in the fog. A new twist emerged at the senior center. A volunteer named Lila, vibrant and kind, with eyes like Evelyn's. She organized art therapy, where Harold painted the lakeside scene. "This is beautiful," Lila said, touching his arm. A spark ignited, not romance, but companionship that eased his isolation. Lila shared her story. Widowed young, she'd carried her husband's ring everywhere. "We honor them by living," she echoed Evelyn's letter. Inspired, Harold proposed a group outing on the number 22 bus, recreating his journey. 10 seniors boarded, each with a token of lost love: photos, letters, a locket. As they rode, stories flowed. One man's warm medals, another's faded wedding veil. Passengers listened, the air thick with emotion. At the park, they scattered symbolic petals, toasts to memories. Media caught wind again, dubbing it the memory bus. Donations poured in, expanding Evelyn's ride citywide. Harold, though forgetful, beamed in interviews. Love doesn't fade, it transforms. But privately, fears mounted. "What if I forget everything?" he confided in Lila. Her response, "Then we'll remind you." She introduced memory aids, photos labeled recordings of his voice. Their friendship deepened. Walks in the park, shared meals. Clara approved, seeing Harold's smile return. Evelyn would like her, she said. Winter brought challenges. A fall landed Harold in hospital, his hip bruised, mind confused. Waking to Clara and Lila by his bed, he clutched the jar photo. "Take me home." Recovery was slow, but community rallied, meals delivered, visits from bus friends. Mia organized a fundraiser concert, proceeds for his care. In quiet moments, Harold reflected on life's twists. The jar's tumble leading to reunion, fame, purpose. One small act, he mused. As spring bloomed, he hosted a backyard gathering, toasting Evelyn. Alex announced his engagement, crediting Harold's example. You showed me forgiveness matters. Lila confessed a secret. I lost my daughter to illness. Helping here heals me. Harold hugged her, tears mixing. We're all carrying jars. Their bond grew, platonic yet profound, a testament to second chances. Harold's advocacy peaked at a conference, speaking on Alzheimer's. It's not just loss, it's a call to cherish now. Applause thundered, but he sought quiet afterward, journaling furiously against the encroaching void. Summer arrived with a pilgrimage. Harold, Clara, Lila, and Alex to the dance hall ruins. Music played from a phone, and Harold danced slowly with Lila, Evelyn's spirit swirling. She's happy, he felt. Back home, a letter from a stranger. Your story saved my marriage. Thank you. Ripples continued, proving one man's journey could touch countless lives. As days shortened, Harold's clarity waned, but love anchored him. Surrounded by friends, he whispered to the jar, "We did it, Ev." In vulnerability, he found unbreakable strength. The legacy of the jar endured, a whisper of humanity in a noisy world. Harold gazed at the journal's final pages, his handwriting steadier than expected, chronicling not just past, but present joys. Though dementia's grip tightened, moments of lucidity shone like beacons. One such day, he turned to Lila. Let's make new memories. They planned a trip a bus to the countryside, where Evelyn once picnicked. The ride evoked the original. Chatter, shared snacks, but now with purpose. At the meadow, they spread blankets, Harold recounting tales. Clara added forgotten details, painting Evelyn vividly. Alex filmed, creating a digital archive. For when words fail, he said. But a poignant twist unfolded. A young doctor on the bus recognized Harold from news. I'm researching Alzheimer's. Your story inspired my grant. Dr. Elena shared breakthroughs therapies, slowing progression. Hope flickered. Harold enrolled in a trial. Side effects mild, benefits promising. Months later, improvements emerged. Sharper recall, fewer lapses. It's working, he marveled. Gratitude fueled activism. Harold spoke at schools, urging youth to value elders. Mia, now a friend, helped with social media, amplifying his voice. Lila's presence became constant, their friendship evolving into quiet affection. You're my anchor, he admitted. She smiled. And you mine. No grand romance, but a gentle partnership, honoring past loves. Community events multiplied, jar stories, nights, where people shared mementos. One woman brought her mother's recipe book, tears flowing as she baked for orphans. Harold listened, heart swelling. We all carry something precious. Clara moved closer, mending family ties. Grandchildren visited, hearing Grandpa's legend. The man with the jar, they called him, eyes wide. As years ticked by, Harold, now 85, health stabilized, but time's march was inexorable. He wrote a book, The Jar of Memories, Proceeds to Charity. Launch day, the bus community gathered, toasts ringing. In the epilogue of his life, Harold reflected by the lake. Ashes long scattered, but Evelyn lived in every ripple. Reunions, healings, kindnesses sparked. One final twist, a letter from Clara's long-lost child, prompted by the book. Family expanded, wounds closed. Harold passed peacefully in sleep, journal open to Evelyn's letter. Funeral on the bus route, passengers honoring with silence, then stories. His legacy? A foundation bearing his name, buses equipped for seniors, programs fostering connections. In the end, the jar's contents love incarnate left not speechlessness, but endless dialogue on humanity's depth. Lives touched, chains unbroken, proving that from one small vessel, oceans of compassion flow.